What's up guys, welcome to Malifaux, and this is my rematch against Skit Happens, who's a great guy and plays a very complex game, and I hope I can do it justice. This was a lot of fun. For terrain, we've got these houses which are, as always, blocking, impassable, height whatever, 5, forests. These ruins, I think you can walk normally through the bottom bit, and then we've got hardcover blocking pillars. As I've said before, I like to play with hazardous terrain, and so when things look like they could be hazardous, I tend to make them that. So we've got, soft cover hazardous fences. My opponent announced he was playing Misaki this game, and I nearly shat a brick. Because I've given her a little look over before, and kitted out with Stalking Bacento, Misdirection, and backed up by the Shadow Emissary. I'm really not confident I can take her. But I breathe a huge sigh of relief when I find that my opponent has not brought that build. The Thunders lose deployment, and I get them set up first. We've got a yokai. Oh goodness, what is that? A Monk of Low River, an Oiran, Sensei Yu, with Low River style and the Peaceful Waters. A Jorogumo, or however you pronounce that, Misaki, with Disguise, Smoke and Shadows, and Recall Training. Shang and another yokai. And to face the deadly dancing assassins, I brought out McMourning's Can line of the dead. And whilst we're here, I'll explain why I've deployed like this. Basically, this house is going to really disrupt my auras if I try to go, flow around both sides of it. And it might be because of the last couple of games I've played, but for some reason I've got in my mind that he might be going to try outflank. Or inspection, or whatever it's called. And so my strategy is going to be to completely wait one flank. Use this building to block line of sight from so Misaki can't charge and kill McMourning and Sebastian, or at least make it really difficult for her. Summon a shit pile of dogs and basically push into this quarter whilst hanging on to these two. And if he's going for inspection, he'll have to fight through my entire crew, which I'd be able to easily counter. So for the task, I've got a Nurse, Sebastian, with Those Are Not Ours. A Canine Remains, the Doom Wawa. McMourning, with Moonlighting Plastic Surgery and Decaying Aura, because Threat. Carrion Emissary, with Crutch of Forbidden Knowledge. Jackie the Niece, Rotten Bell, Canine Remains. So basically I've swapped out Rowan Nilsson, Rafkin, for 2 dogs, and dropped Yaki's Pull of the Grave upgrade for a healthy amount of soul stones, because McMourning tends to need them. So yeah, we're pretty close, so what I plan to do is use the bell to pull models towards me, poison them, lower their defense with the dogs, and also do some scheme running with the dogs. Basically hide around behind this building, and prevent him bringing his whole crew to bear on mine, and just keep slipping out with McMourning to take down his models and raise flesh constructs, use the Nurse, try to get the Nurse to get paralysed on Misaki, and I'm really looking forward to removing Flicker from the yokai with Chiaki. So yeah, doing claim jumps that I can just keep planting markers, and when people come near I can use the markers for Dig the Graves. I don't tend to find people die from poison too much actually with McMourning around, so I'm hopeful I won't thwart my own schemes by that mechanic. Let's get it on! Turn 1. I get the dog out and drop a scheme marker. What I'm trying to do is use my incorporeal and flying models in the middle of the forest so they don't care. The emissary is giving out an extra walk to everyone around him to just help them get out of the forest. The Oiran lures my bell and I'm perfectly fine with that. The yokai has got himself up over here, I think. And I'm considering using the bell to lure Chiaki so that she can then walk around the corner and take him out turn 1, but that might just get her killed, so I decided against it. I make a bit of a mistake by moving Sebastian out. Basically I've done the thing where I've blocked him all my models again, so I kind of have to move him to get him out of the way, but unfortunately he's now more than 8 inches away from McMourning, and therefore I won't get the catalyst push. I decide to take the advantage and get the bell to place a ski marker up on the central line. That way I'm not faffing around with dropping markers later. He's going to have to try to get someone up in this area to block a possible claim jump, and I'm hoping to turn this into my kill zone. Nurse puts poison on McMourning and just walks pretty uselessly. I, in hindsight, should have just put 8 poison on him. But I guess I wanted her to get line of sight, so if Misaki ends up in the thick of things over here, she'd be able to snipe her out next turn. Instead, what's happening is Sensei Yu's pushing the Jorogumu and Misaki. Misaki charges the bell, drops it to its final wound, and then skips out over here. And I think that's really good placement, because I was hoping that he would be around here, and then I could get McMourning out, Rancid Transplant, and really put the pressure on early. But now he's away from my models, and this forest is really screwing up my movement. The Chihuahua can only make it to here, and McMourning's not going to get his push, so he's going to have to go the long way around. The Harrian Emissary has kind of moved up over here, dropped his shards so that Sebastian will have some nice canine fodder, and then really just popped himself back to where he was, nearly. So I need to keep some kind of presence in this quarter. I think I did this before Misaki moved. So I am within 15 inches, which is her easy charge threat range. But if she wants to try to take down the Emissary, I'm more than happy to exchange that and enable McMourning to get the first strike on her. Oh no, I lie, I wasn't. So McMourning couldn't get round to getting range of anybody. So I think I just walk him up out of the forest. I give the Emissary the injection to push him out of the forest. Can't be seen by Misaki anymore. Drop a scheme marker. So that if she does come into the backfield, then I've got my graves set up and ready. And then at the end of the turn, I poison push around the corner so she can't see me. This yokai comes out over here, out of line of sight of Chiaki, which is super annoying. Good move, Mr. Happens. So turn 2. I'm not soulstoning pretty much at all because of Misaki's mind games. She totally got in my head. And this is a really interesting aspect of her play, I find. So, I'm conserving my soulstone pool, so my hand is, my hand's pretty decent, I can't play with that. But potentially it could be worse. It also means I was very hesitant to cheat for many of the things I would normally cheat for during the course of this game. So I think that's a really interesting mechanic. I mean, it's terrifying, but I think that's kind of... I like that kind of psychology, mind games. So I win the initiative, and I love this picture. Chiaki's forced to move. I use her 0 action to attack the yokai, and basically what I'm fishing for is an extra chi to give me an advantage for the actual attack that matters, the condition removal. I cheat my 8 of tomes, which is kind of a calculated risk to try to draw out a good card from his hand, and I think it does. I go for the condition remove and I fail, unfortunately. But be careful, yokai. So the yokai places and distracts the dog, and I think maybe does a little bit of damage to it. We've got the Oiran moving up behind these smoke thingies and disappearing. The Bells tries the luck and actually manages to slow Misaki, which was fantastic. You kinky lass, Misaki. Dog attacks the yokai and poisons it good. Misaki blasts the bell into smithereens, I think landing a hit on the Chihuahua, who just survives. Yeah, she did the severe and then the 3 damage. That was using her new errated attack, I think. And then places a scheme marker on the midline. Uh-oh. Of course he's going for claim jump. Who would go for inspection? Yep, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to stop that. Oh, this was great. Really pleased with this. The Carrion Emissary shoots into this combat, hits the yokai, does him for a damage and poison, blasts onto the dog that was accused, puts him on his last wound and poison. Very happy with that. I'm kind of running out of activations, so I use the Chihuahua and just put him here. I hope that he's hidden behind the markers. And what I'm trying to do is lure out the spider, bring him towards my kill zone, but to make it so that he can't charge me. But I forgot about his Wander of the Earth, so he just pushes over, charges the Chihuahua. The spider doesn't know who he's messing with. But no, the little doggy goes down. That spider is gonna pay. But vengeance will have to wait, because this bastard Sensei Yu came up here and removed the poison and healed up the yokai. What a total spoil sport. However, to demonstrate that condition removal is an annoyance to McMourning rather than a showstopper, I do this. So I poison push out over here, have to walk unfortunately. I can't Rancid Transplant because I'll kill my dog and I've got plans for him, so I charge the yokai, bring it to its last wound and a couple of poison with my attacks, and expunge the hell out of it for a flesh construct. Scoring Dig Their Graves at the same time, feeling pretty smug. One of the dogs drops a ski marker and moves around here. Sebastian, I think, moves and summons another dog off the zombie, and the dog moves to here. Flesh Construct walks between these guys, so basically all I've got to do is activate him as early as I can next turn. Means these guys can't just walk over and accuse my dogs, and can't accuse an activated model. And at the end of the turn things look like this, so the double markers are down for the 10 Thunders claim jump. My dog dies of poison, so no accused, and the dog is summoned because he's within range of McMourning. Mwahaha. But this bloody Oiran steps out of the shadows and blocks off my my second claim jump marker. Did not appreciate how useful that ability was going to be for him. My opponent is a tricky guy. It's also worth pointing out that he could have placed within 6 inches of Misaki, which would have been in this table quarter. So if I don't keep 2 models in here, you could also potentially block this quarter off and stop me from scoring interference. Turn 3, sort of important turn, and I get a shit hand and a Force of Soulstone, and that is what I was looking at. Oh, this is going to be rough. But hey, I won't be cheating, so I'm not going to get assassinated. I get initiative, which is pretty big, and go with the Flesh Constructs, and I think I attack Sensei Yu. My goal this turn is to remove him and get Dig the Graves. So I want to stack as much poison on him as possible, and I think I severe damage him with the double poison trigger. Yeah, guess where all the good cards are. So that brightens my mood somewhat. Sensei Yu then heals himself and removes the poison condition. What a bastard. And I think McMourning was just a tad out of range for Decaying Aura to stop that. He then airbursts McMourning towards him, getting a focus, and uses that focus to interact to accuse McMourning, which is completely unfounded. There's no evidence to suggest any kind of guilt. Look how white that lab coat is. But I'm not too worried about that. McMourning's now blocked from line of sight from Misaki, and he's plenty slippery enough to get that accusation off him. Oh, question whilst we're here. I think the wording on these smoke markers suggests that they can't be placed in base contact with any other marker, and we wondered if that meant themselves as well. Just in case, we've left a little gap between them. But if you know what the ruling is for this, please let me know. In other news, it looks like the Jiragamo ate a dog and then disappeared into smoke. I've got this canine remains coming up over here, dropping a ski marker for Dig the Graves or Claim Jump. And then I proceed to balls things up. McMourning takes poison damage from Sebastian's Catalyst and pushes out over here. And then I use all 3 AP trying to put Rancid Transplant on this dude. Totally forgetting about the accused condition. This was actually a really interesting and really, I think, consequential set of events. So you've seen what my hand was like. Turns out my opponent had like 4 face cards, which he's been patiently and skillfully farming. Because I was winning the duels, he was cheating these high cards in, not necessarily out of worry for Sensei Yu, but in order to keep baiting me into making the attack and forgetting to remove the accused, which he completely succeeded in. But by the end of things, I think he's out of cards. And I totally forget to reactivate my Flesh Construct, by the way. Don't get excited and think I actually know what I'm doing in this game. So I failed to kill my target, but now, in a weird twist, I've got card advantage. And with my 0 action from McMourning, I use Injection on the dog to get over here, reduce Sensei Yu's defense, who's now on like defensive condition 4. The Oiran tries and fails to lure Misaki into the fray, so she has to walk a little bit and then get there, chopping and blasting away at the Flesh Construct, but again the lack of cards is hurting him slightly and my guy stays standing. And finally she ends up pushing over here. Sebastian then moves up a little bit and summons a dog off that marker. But then a real wrench gets thrown into the works when the yokai over in this corner fails his flip, which will allow him to push and drop a second scheme marker. And my opponent doesn't have any cards to cheat it. But Skit happens, he's a tricky guy and he realises he's got one more chance to get that second marker down. If he can get Kang to within 2 inches of the line and within range of the Low River Monk, the monk can use some ability, might be on his Peaceful Waters card, I don't have it, which could enable him to drop that scheme marker. Shang decides to run through the railings and then shoot the flesh construct just to get the most out of his AP. Oh Shang, what happened? It shouldn't have been this way. Instead of double walking around into range, he wanted the shot, so he went through the hazardous terrain and took severe damage, killing him outright, and now there's no way you can drop that second scheme marker. Oh goodness, I feel bad for him. The Oiran had already activated to lure Misaki closer, which I think she might have failed at as well. Again, no cards. Just terrible, terrible fortune. Finally, the Carrion Emissary attacked the Oiran and put her down to 3 wounds and poison, and the nurse decided to risk it, jumped onto the line and dropped her 3 crows or something to get the paralyze on Misaki. She's got no cards and he only flips a 6, but I don't have a 7 in my hand anymore. Oh, so close. So we go to turn 4 and that is a bit better. Time to press the advantage. I get the initiative again. This was really hurting him. Sensei Yu's got no defensive this time, he's got -1 for defense for the dog. McMourning goes. I don't think I've got any more poison left on me, but it doesn't matter. I rancid transplant him with the first shot, putting it up to the 6 I need, and he's only got 6 wounds left, and then I expunge and I don't even have to cheat. I'm just flipping really well. He can't soulstone because of decaying aura, and that's dig your graves and a flesh construct. To add insult to injury, I then drop another scheme marker and walk behind the building to hide from Misaki. Because man is she pissed, she drops recalled training, I don't think she's got any soul stones, she's on full assault. My flesh constructs get used as punching bags, she's blasting to spread the love as widely as possible, and one of the dogs goes down. And then she turns her attention to Sebastian, slicing at him with the assassinate trigger. I cheat high to keep her on negative flips for damage, good old hard to wound, and only take the 2 weak damage. So now I'm facing that tricky question Misaki poses. Do I ditch the cards? Do I ditch the soul stones? Do I use 1 soul stone for prevention and then risk having to use 2 more later? I'm somewhat of a gambler, and so in the end I decide to risk it, go for the single soul stone prevention, and top deck to prevent both damage, and Sebastian lets out a huge sigh of relief. You can just imagine his little face. This Jorogumo, by the way, placed back in here because he needed to keep scoring this quarter last turn because I had my dog up behind the house. And so now I walk this flesh construct in to engage it and the low river monk to stop them from accusing anybody. The Jorogumo disappears back into shadow, and the low river monk he goes defensive and gets away from the flesh construct. Yokai finally does his job and drops a scheme marker, looking rather sheepish. And then very annoyingly, the Oiran lures my Carrion Emissary out into base contact with her and accuses him. I move the nurse back into scoring zone, and let's go back up to this picture. So I've got nothing else to do, so the flesh construct's attacking Misaki. Sebastian raises another dog from the corpse marker, and then I think just like bloody harvest or something. I'm just trying to make her flip as many cards as possible, hoping something gets through. But the dog is in a really tricky position. It's really hard to do anything against Misaki with them. If he moves in to get into base combat, she'll just push out and potentially block my marker. And I can't even charge the matter even if I wasn't engaged, so yeah, there's just nothing they can do. So I try to disengage, and he flips the Black Joker. Take that, 10 Thunders and all your positive flips. So the dog moves out, drops a marker within 4 inches of the Oiran. She's got 2 damage left. I've still got my red Joker. We flip for the first attack, and he flips the red Joker so I can't cheat. Oh! So I kill her with my second attack. Can't remove the accused condition, and remember I've already scored Dig the Graves from Sensei Yu. But what this means is that he now can't drop his Jorogumo back here and deny my claim jump. And now, because I've got such a model advantage, there's no way for him to place the Jorogumo in a quarter such as that he could deny me interference or even score it for himself. So he does pop it down here next McMourning on the claim jump marker, but it's not enough. He does, however, manage to get the claim jump of his own, and so do I. And we hit turn 5. And one more time, I get the initiative. Now, we all remember what that Jorogumo did to our beloved Chihuahua. McMourning certainly does. The beast has engaged him out of his engagement range, so he can't charge, but he walks purposefully up to it, a grim and focused look on his face. 8 wounds and hard to kill, you say? He rams his scalpel into whatever passes as the beast's testicles, red jokering the damage, and sending poison coursing through its system. The expunge follows up with an unstoppable and extreme prejudice, and out pops the Chihuahua construct. Everyone's a bit surprised, but no one says anything because McMourning doesn't really look in the mood. The low river monk jogs up and accuses the flesh construct, eager to do his job before he's unceremoniously assassinated. Perhaps a mistake given how many cards and soulstones I've got left. Sebastian goes, walks over here, Misaki pushes to keep up, and then I destroy evidence again on my flesh construct. I can only imagine how irritating that is. But that push got Misaki within line of sight of McMourning, and she is out for blood. She charges, hacks away at him, but can't get the assassinate. But with presence of mind that I completely lacked earlier, she accuses the flesh construct Chihuahua, and I think there's nothing I can do. Gentleman that he is, Mr. Skit reminds me that Chiaki could potentially push Misaki out of range and allow me to take the accusation off. I try it, but you know, that's a pretty long shot, and he makes the duel. I finish things off by dropping my claim jump markers, but oh no, the yokai tries to drop its second marker, but flickers out and dies. Oh goodness. What can you say? That is the end of the game. The final scores. 10 Thunders got 3 points for accuse. Well done, that man. 2 points for claim jump, and 2 points, I think, for interference. Resurrectionists got 4 points for interference, 3 points for claim jump, and 2 points for dig their graves, making this game 9-7 to the Resurrectionists. Man, that was a fun game. Again, really close. And I can only imagine my opponent's frustration. Some really dick luck there. But I gotta say, he gives me some of the most enjoyable reports. And I can't wait for our next encounter. I thought Disguised Misaki was really interesting. That was so he played a kind of defensive game to start with, and then went in for the kill in the late game. That seems to give Misaki an option to, not play copycat Victorias. But ultimately, I think it gave McMourning the breathing space you don't want to give him. And yeah, obviously I'm enjoying McMourning. How can you not? He's very forgiving, but so much fun. A big part of it for me is it's just there's so much imagery that goes on in my head when I'm playing these guys. I mean, just look, McMourning and Sebastian are so characterful, and Chiaki too. It just gives the events of the game that little bit extra depth of enjoyment. Still not sure I fancy my chances against a Bacento misdirect Misaki. I think I'd just have to lure her in, save my resources to survive the assassinates, use Chiaki to strip off Stalk, and then surround her with dogs so her defences are nothing, and then just deluge attacks, shitty little attacks, trying to slip through stuff and dish out enough poison. 4 poison in Sebastian's aura, as it will be enough to kill her if she doesn't have any soulstones. If she attacks McMourning, I'll just have to drop my cards and try to just whittle through some attacks. If she doesn't attack McMourning, then I'll have the resources to push through attacks, some of the big damage attacks, by discarding cards after she's activated. Being able to charge with dogs would be huge, considering how annoying it was this game not being able to. Yep, those are my thoughts. I really enjoyed this game. I hope you did too, and I'll catch you on the next one.